Welcome back, everybody.
Wow.
It's Friday.
Okay, it is Friday, so I'll give that one to you. You really brought it there.
I had to.
All right.
It is August 28th.
It is.
A beautiful Friday morning here.
Well,
yeah.
we think so.
Yeah.
That's what we're predicting.
Yeah. And today we have a great episode for you guys. It's the Fight Night Preview show.
UFC Vegas 8.
Smith versus Rakic. Lawler versus Magny.
It's going down.
What a duo right there.
This is, again, the fight nights. Don't sleep on them.
I know. UFC's bringing it.
They're
the rest of the
bringing
year.
it. Oh, can I just... why we're talking about UFC bringing it. Saw a tweet last night. There's 22 UFC events, if you count the Contender Series, over the last 16 weeks of the year.
Yeah, I actually...
Or until December 12th.
Okay, I saw that too.
22.
Remember when we started this thing, we were telling people like, or we were even telling ourselves before we started recording the first episode, we're like, there might be a week where they won't have a fight night and we'll just do whatever, maybe another special episode.
No.
There's literally not a week the rest of the year.
Until December 12th.
At
the latest.
The rest of the year, the UFC is having a fight night every Saturday.
Yeah.
And then we got Contender Series, expecting announcements from the Ultimate Fighter coming soon.
Yeah.
We ain't going nowhere.
Nowhere. We're here to stay. And the UFC is as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Probably more so than this, but yeah.
Well, you know.
But
only
just
time
to
will
run
tell.
just to run down the card, because this is the preview show. It's hashtag UFC Vegas
8.
We're
gonna lose track eventually.
Yeah, I know. Our main event, light heavyweight action, as Anthony Lionheart Smith makes his awaited return.
Yes.
Against the promising, also a guy kind of making his awaited return.
Yep.
The promising up-and-comer Alexander Rakic. Our co-main welterweight action as Ruthless Robbie Lawler.
Everybody's
my favorite fighter of all time. Your favorite fighter of all time. The guy next door's favorite fighter of all time makes his long-awaited comeback.
Yeah, true.
Against Neil Magny.
On short notice.
Yeah, on short notice against Neil Magny, a game dude.
Yeah, not a guy you want to take a short notice fight on for either of them.
Then we got some women's flyweight action. Alexa Grasso makes her debut at women's flyweight, going up against Ji-Yeon Kim.
10 out of 10.
I mean,
it hasn't stopped.
It wasn't that hard, but...
Well, there's a dash in the name.
And I feel like half of these have been wrong. They just sound right. I just say it with confidence.
I almost just spit my water.
I just say it with confidence.
All right, there you go.
Fourth fight. Another game dude.
They got our man a freaking replacement.
Yeah,
we've been talking about it for weeks.
Ricardo Lamas with his third opponent.
Yeah.
Bill Algeo, I believe is how you say it.
Welcome to the UFC, bud.
Yeah. Only performance before this on the Contender Series, which you kind of said you're not including that as far as like a UFC appearance.
Yeah.
That makes sense because normally it's two guys making it's their first fight usually, and then our first fight, which honestly,
it could be
it
could be third fight.
It might be my
fight of the night.
It's probably gonna be my prediction for such.
It's definitely gonna be the round of the night.
Light heavyweight fight as the what would you call it? The rematch.
It's a rematch
of the controversial first match between Magomed Ankalaev versus Jan Kudaleva.
This is exciting.
Yeah, but first,
the news.
And
it's a little small this week.
It's
or for this episode.
Quite small.
That's okay. They're probably glad.
We've been hitting them with UFC blew their fucking load last week on us. So this week it's very small, but
really only one fight announcement. That's it.
Yeah, I mean,
and then just some headlines.
Yeah, so I know you wanted to talk first about this September 19th announcement for a fight. If you want to go ahead.
Yeah, the TJ
Laramie, yeah.
Laramie? Yeah, so this dude, I believe it was last week or the week before's Contender Series, had a dominant, I think it was just one round, took this dude down, dominated on the ground. I didn't take notes on that one, so I'm going off memory here.
Yeah.
But TJ is a stud wrestler, super young, very calm and composed, very, when he did his post-fight interview with Laura Sanko, he just wasn't cocky, but he was confident, but it was like this level of confidence you like in a guy.
You know what I call that?
Very well-spoken guy.
I call that it factor.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess you could say that. And he's like, I don't know, just a young stud. I think he's 22, 23, 24, one of those three. He's really young. Anyway, literally just won a week or two ago, and he's booked for September 19th already to make his official debut
against
Derek Minor.
Mm-hmm.
So, just a quick note. Again, these Contender Series, we posted a story on our Instagram this past Tuesday. If you guys have ESPN Plus and don't have nothing to do on Tuesday nights, and you want to see rising, up-and-coming future stars in the UFC, shout out Sean O'Malley.
Yeah.
Tune into the Contender Series, man.
Yeah, dude. A lot of these guys that go on Tuesday Night Contender end up... I mean, really, the show's still very young.
Yeah, it's only
It was
fourth
started,
season.
like, in our sophomore year of college.
Yeah, I can't believe it's already their fourth season.
Yeah, it's their fourth season. And so really, a lot of these guys' careers are unfinished who have been signed.
Oh,
but
yeah.
yet, we see guys making big contributions. You just mentioned Sean O'Malley.
Definitely the biggest star.
Dan Ige, who
Yep.
just headlined a fight night like a month and a half ago or
Yep.
so. There's been plenty of others. I'm
Yeah.
just not... they're not all coming to me right now.
Right.
But Macy Barber,
Macy
right?
Barber.
Yeah, that's another one.
Shout
that's
out Macy. 0 for 2 in the DMs.
Yeah,
with
Dom
her,
slid in her DMs multiple times, so that's okay.
Hey, 0 for 2. There's still one more before a strikeout. That's all I'm saying.
True.
Anyway, Macy Barber's another one.
I think this fight announcement, though, even though, like, for most of you, you're probably going, who?
Yeah.
I do like that we want to keep up with these Contender Series,
Yep.
what do you call them, alumni.
Yeah.
Guys that kind of continue their career, because ultimately, he might not be, probably won't be, but TJ Laramie could be the next big thing in
Yeah.
UFC.
And I can't remember off the top of my head which weight class, but he's a smaller guy.
Smaller guy?
So it's one of the smaller
Yeah.
ones, but he's a good wrestler and like I said, very well spoken, seemed educated, knowledgeable in the sport.
Yeah.
I liked him.
Yeah, I think it was a good lead-in to this past Tuesday. We did have Tuesday Night Contender.
And I took some notes this time.
And you know what you said about if you have ESPN Plus, then, like, what are you doing? Watch it?
Yeah.
Well, you should be saying that to me.
Yeah, no.
Because I have missed it again.
You missed it again.
I keep falling asleep.
And you missed another great night.
Yeah, now, I'll let you go into the more details here, but I just want to say that I did see a few clips on Twitter.
I know which one you're going to talk about.
Whew, that 22-piece combo.
Yeah, a 22 punch
I'm not joking.
combination.
A 22,
That's no joke.
22 punch combination.
He never took a break. It was 22.
I implore you guys, can you tell me the name of the guy who...
Jamie Pickett.
Jamie Pickett. I implore you guys to please look up that knockout.
Type in Jamie Pickett 22 punches. It'll come up.
Or, yeah.
Or just 22
Or just
punches.
Jamie Pickett, because I don't,
Okay, yeah.
I don't know another damn Jamie Pickett around. But that guy, that was awesome.
Yeah. it
And
was great.
I was very impressed. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself. I want you to take over here and tell them what happened.
Now, I didn't go super in-depth like I do with like our fight nights and pay-per-views, but just a couple notable performances. So the first fight of the night, Colin Huckbody. Very interesting last name.
Very interesting.
Very dominant wrestler. Very good grappling in a top game. He had an arm triangle finish in the first round. I wish I wrote down the weight class, but I didn't, unfortunately. But he won in the first round, 1 minute and 28 seconds in. And that is his 5th career victory via arm triangle. A submission that I really enjoy seeing.
And you don't see that much of.
No. Like, when I play UFC 4, I utilize the arm triangle.
Really?
But you really don't see it much.
Yeah,
I think it's an interesting submission.
Yeah, I wish I had it in front of me, but I saw a statistic about, like, every finish in UFC history
Yeah.
by submission.
Yeah.
And it went
I'd
down.
say that's one of the fewer for the submission.
I mean, if you look at really the dominating ones are
rear
the
naked choke,
and the
arm
guillotine.
bar, guillotine.
Those are the top two by far. They
Yeah.
make up over 50% of
Yeah.
the submissions in UFC history.
Yeah.
But then, yes, the arm bar is probably up there. I mean, I don't even know after that. I mean, you're talking once you get to like even to like heel hooks and
Kimuras, knee
Kimuras,
bars,
yeah.
like those are all. Just,
there's so many submissions, but we feel like you would see them a lot, but really on a given card you might see like 2,
Yeah.
3 maybe.
Yeah.
Like you don't see them that often.
and it's truly like for the passionate MMA fan, it can very well be more satisfying than a KO. Depending on how it happens.
That's why we make such a big deal over Oven St. Preux with the Von Flue choke, is because that's a choke that literally
should be named after him at this point.
Von Preux choke.
Yeah. But just call it the St. Preux. Take
Yeah.
the Von out of it.
Yeah, I mean, literally, I'm pretty sure, is he the only guy who's ever done that in UFC?
If I'm not mistaken, yeah. And by the way, he's done it 4 times.
And if someone else has done it, I can tell you that they are the only other person.
Yeah,
to do
and
it.
they've not done it more than once.
I can confidently say there has not been more than 2 people who've
And
done
like
it.
you know the Korean Zombie with the twister, and now we've seen
Bryce Mitchell,
Bryce Mitchell,
who we'll be talking
talk
about
has
in a
done the
little bit,
twister.
yeah.
So like submissions are very cool, and it really shows you how good someone is grappling and on the ground. So yeah, Colin Huckbody won the first fight of the night. Not only did he get the arm triangle, he did it from full mount. Typically,
That's
when you get an arm
very
triangle,
impressive.
you want to do it out of side control.
Yeah, I didn't even know this either.
Yeah.
I'm very impressed by that.
So he did it out of full mount, which was cool. And one other note on him is he trains at Jackson Wink, which, if you don't know, that's where John Bones Jones trains. People like Donald Cerrone have trained there.
it's
Karate
one
Hottie,
of the premier
Holly Holm.
one of the premier camps in MMA.
Yeah. So this guy's a young up and comer, just won, and he trains at one of the best gyms there is.
I believe that's where Mike Perry trains, right?
Mike Perry's trained
I don't
there.
know why that's. I just remember the fallout
like
from
the
Mike
who's
Perry.
who, Holly Holm.
Because Cowboy Cerrone used to train there.
Yeah, and that's
until
when
the
their
Mike
fight
Perry
happened,
beef
yeah.
stuff happened. But anyways,
But yeah, so Colin Huckbody. Then the second fight of the night was really good. A 23-year-old Anthony Romero was in an incredible 3-round war of a fight. The problem was, and Dana, I believe, even said this, he could not get the finish. So I want to take note on this because you're like, oh, well, not everybody finishes fights. I get it. But in this fight, he had his opponent hurt with leg kicks so bad, both legs, that he could barely stand.
I remember.
And he could not finish
I
the
saw
fight.
a clip of this fight where it was the first round.
Yeah.
And I just saw that when I woke up. I saw that on Twitter, and I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, that dude's done."
Yeah.
And
Never
then I
finished
heard
the fight.
didn't get the finish. So you know what though, like Dana's been pretty giving with the contracts,
Yeah.
as I'm sure you'll get into. He gave 4 of 5.
Yeah.
And we just talked. Was that last week or the week before? He gave 5 of 5,
Yeah.
which doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
But in this kind of time period, when the UFC is just wanting guys who want to fight,
Yeah.
he doesn't give this guy a contract, correct?
Exactly. No, this was the only guy that night that didn't get a contract. Again, he models his game after GSP. He's a Canadian. He's honestly built just like GSP, but he didn't wrestle that much. He had very good striking, very good kickboxing, but the fact that he couldn't finish is what I think bugged Dana, and that's why he ultimately didn't give him a contract. Shout out to the dude he was fighting. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Tough as hell.
Mm-hmm.
So Anthony Romero, keep your eyes on him and whatever organization he goes to.
And Dana did make a good point. He said, he's like, I don't get why people are bitching at me for not giving guys contracts. Like, look at the platform we've just put them on.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden that dude's the hottest free agent in the market.
Yeah.
Outside of like Michael Chandler.
And really all it takes after a contender series is like, what, 2 or 3 wins?
I'm
And
sure
you're
he'll
right
end
back
up in fucking Bellator.
Or like if they need a late replacement, hey,
Yeah.
we just,
Yeah.
we had you, we didn't sign you, but we got to fight.
Because you have seen, and we just, we'll be talking about this later on the main card of this Saturday show. One of the guys fighting, Bill Algeo, is a contender series alumni.
Right,
but
lost
he
his
lost
fight,
the fight.
and here he is still.
Because it's a late replacement. They just needed someone who's game. It's
Yeah.
like this guy.
Exactly. So Anthony Romero, keep your head up, bud, because I saw talent. He just didn't finish the fight.
Yeah.
The third fight was fight of the night to me. It was 2 flyweights. Arguably could have signed both of them. Unbelievable fight. And in a division that you need, like, stars, the dude that won could definitely be a star, and the guy that lost was game. Such a great fight.
wanted the
Molina is the last name of the gentleman that won. I can't remember his first name.
the guy who lost. I saw Brett
He-
Okamoto tweet that like signed both these guys.
Yeah, it was
I
crazy.
saw Mac Malley tweet signed both these guys.
He was
shout
taking
out
shots.
Mac Malley, by the way.
Yeah,
But-
shout out McMahon.
But I saw like sign both these guys, and I'm like, yeah, like flyweight division. Like if these guys are putting on a hell of a
It
show. I
was
mean, not
so
that
good.
flyweights don't put on good shows, but and that is a division that it just
Well, they
is-
almost scrapped the division.
yeah.
You know?
And I don't believe that's still not off the table.
Yeah, I
At
agree.
least I hope. I mean, I hope it's not like still being talked about. But I'm assuming that
Yeah.
they didn't just after everything that's gone on in the past year. I don't think it's
Right.
been enough to warrant them to not talk about it anymore. So I would guarantee right now that you will see that guy who lost back.
Well, this is specifically where Dana mentioned, like, even though he lost, stay ready, answer your phone. We'll give you a call if we need a late replacement. So that dude is a stud that lost. He was eating shots after shots after shot. It was crazy. And then the guy that won actually trains with Lorisenko in Kansas City, which I thought was cool.
Oh, yeah.
And she does like the post-fight interviews and
Right.
whatever. But he believes that he's a future flyweight champ.
Yeah,
He was all about
I just
it.
want to actually put their names
Yeah,
out there.
give this guy some credit.
Jeffrey Molina,
That's
the guy
the
who
winner,
won.
yeah. Silva, is that what
Jacob
it
Silva.
is? Yeah.
So those are names that are easy to pronounce,
Yeah.
easy to remember. Stay on the lookout for Jeffrey Molina and Jacob Silva. Jeffrey Molina would not surprise me if he's fighting in like a month or two.
Yeah, I
with the
wouldn't be
way that's
surprised.
been going. And Jacob Silva also wouldn't surprise me if he's fighting in a month or two.
Right, even though he lost.
Yeah. So
Fourth fight, Rafael Alves. This is a guy that came over from another organization. They actually showed a clip on Tuesday. Dana was at this organization watching the fight card, and Alves got a submission win, jumped out of the cage, ran up to Dana in the crowd, and said, "Give me my contract." So here he is on the Contender Series. I just had a couple notes. He's very exciting, very flashy. He did like a backflip when he entered the cage,
Yeah.
messed up the first time, looked at the camera and said, "Let me do it again," and then he did it the second time and landed it. So that was how he entered the octagon.
hilarious.
Yeah. Back and forth first round. Then in the second round, I literally wrote, he pulled the quickest guillotine I've ever witnessed in my life. It came out of nowhere. So he got the second round guillotine finish, 2 minutes and 55 seconds in, and that was Rafael Alves' 7th win via submission. So he got a contract. And then the last fight of the night, which you already touched on, was Jamie Pickett. 3rd time's the charm. This was his 3rd try. And honestly, you're probably not getting another one on the Contender Series.
What a statement.
And he took advantage of it. Got the second round TKO 33 seconds into the fight. 9 out of his 11 wins are by KO TKO. And this was the 22-punch combo with the soda, with the mashed potatoes, with the dessert. Everything came with that combo. And shout out, what's the gentleman's name that he fought?
Jonathan Petit.
Yeah, shout out to Petit. Very good, very technical, like a Samoan dude. Actually went to high school with Robert Griffin III.
Oh, really?
Yes, so he was a football player with him. He played fullback, and he actually showed some promising technique. And you could argue that he wasn't really out. Like, did you kind of see the stoppage?
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying.
I agree
Yeah,
with the
no,
stoppage.
I get what you're saying.
But, like, he got up, he's like,
He got hit 22 times
Yeah.
clean.
yeah.
And he was still, like, if the ref hadn't stopped it.
Oh, he
I
would have
bet-
kept going.
Yeah, not that I think it would have been egregious if he hadn't stopped
Yeah,
it. 'Cause
yeah,
you
I
take
agree.
22 shots clean and you're falling and
Yeah.
shit, like, it's got to happen. But I'm just saying, I think that guy wouldn't have been out.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And he immediately got up, looked at Jamie and said, "Good fight, Jamie." Shook his hand, gave him a hug. Immediately. First thing he said. Didn't argue the stoppage or anything.
You got to love the character.
So I love that, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's in the UFC one day
Yeah,
either.
for sure, for sure.
But I'm
So,
telling you, Contender Series.
Overall, it sounded like a great night of fights.
It was. What else on a Tuesday?
Yeah,
I love it.
I'm getting upset at myself. I keep missing it. I really do plan on. I think.
We're gonna have to have watch parties to keep you
Yeah,
awake.
I think going from here, I think I'm gonna make a bigger point to make sure I'm up for those.
or
but-
even like just rewatching them or
yeah,
whatever.
That's
but
always the problem with the freaking ESPN
Yeah, right.
Plus or Fight Passes that they don't put them on quick enough.
But again, if anybody's interested and has ESPN Plus, Tuesday Night Contender Series, you will not regret it.
Sure. And with that, we'll move on to our next story. It's another fight announcement.
Yeah.
This one for
This
Halloween.
is fun. Yeah.
Halloween.
What's he gonna dress up as? no?
I'm not. We're not doing that again.
Okay. All right.
So, Bryce Mitchell.
13-0, undefeated, stud.
Yeah.
Give him the camo shorts.
Going up against Andre Touchy Feely.
This is again.
What a nickname.
Yeah, that is. This is it. You talk about a game fighter. Like Andre Feely is that, and this is the guy that if you want to get your name in that division, crack the top prospects, the top 20, top 15, beat Andre Touchy Feely.
I am so excited for this.
This is
fight.
a really good fight. This is the
excited for
again.
this fight.
How many of these have we had so far since we've started this podcast? Where like, this is the seasoned vet, the guy that's gonna, put you into the next level of superstar or just in the rankings,
Right.
versus the up and coming prospect, undefeated with a ton of hype behind him, and the guy that wants Reebok to give him some camo shorts. By the way,
Give my man some camo shorts.
he's from Arkansas. How many other fighters are from Arkansas, by the way?
And
Somebody fact check that.
yeah, what excites me most is just how game both these guys are,
Yes.
and also they just put on shows.
Yeah.
If you look at Bryce Mitchell's last fight, it was at UFC 249, which was the pay-per-view where
Ferguson
UFC
and,
was back. They were
Justin.
back after 6 weeks
6
off.
weeks.
He was, I believe, the first or second fight of the whole night.
Yeah, he was on the prelims still.
I think he was on the Fight Pass prelims, or whatever they're
called now.
But he went up against a guy named Charles Rosa, who's another very good fighter, tough guy, and made him look like he was on another level.
He's very good, and
when we're talking about ground game,
yeah,
Bryce Mitchell nearly he's already his fight before that against a guy named Matt Sales. I hope that's how that's pronounced.
Yeah, the Twister.
The Twister, which we had just said, if you don't know what the Twister is,
It's because you never see it.
Look it up.
What was it, like the third or fourth one ever outside of
like
Korean
that.
Zombie?
Yeah.
So
like if you look it up, it looks like it hurts so
I
bad.
can't even imagine.
But it's so hard to pull off because
your body
you have to
twists.
you have to use your whole body to get their body to be like that.
It's wild.
He nearly pulled it off twice against Rosa.
Yeah.
Once at the end of the round, so it didn't get pulled off because ref comes in. Second time, I think he just kind of let it go. But, man, like, what a performance. And I was watching that fight with my roommate at the time, and we were both just like, holy shit. Like, the fight was mostly on the ground. Complete domination.
But that was like, those are the fun fights.
But it was
like,
so
he's
much
so
fun
to watch on the ground.
Yeah, like I was surprised at how much fun it was considering what I just said. Dominating performance.
Yeah.
Completely on the ground. Not that I don't enjoy that, but even my roommate at the time, who is a fight fan, but I wouldn't say that he's like a hardcore fan. He'll watch them and enjoy it if he enjoys it, and if he doesn't, he doesn't. But he was in on it, man.
Yeah.
Which is, you just love to see that.
There's beauty in these grapplers, these insane grapplers.
That's a great way to put it. But I'm very excited for that fight. I imagine that, I don't know who's headline. Oh, that's the card.
Well, that's
headline,
Anderson Silva, Uriah Hall.
Yeah, so that's
I still bet there's going to be another. Is Anderson going to be the main event?
Yeah, it is the main event.
Is it?
Yeah. I think it's deserving of a main event.
Oh, yeah, I definitely agree. You know how I feel about Anderson.
I get
and especially if he's coming to the octagon dressed up.
I get what you're
fighter.
saying, but if you, again, guys, we're not being paid by the UFC, obviously, but I'm telling you, every fight night for the rest of the year is like pretty stacked.
They're
considering
great.
These are what you pay your $5 a month for ESPN Plus. Sometimes you don't even have to do that if you can catch it on ESPN. If you're someone who is at home or whatever, if you just have cable, whatever you have.
Yep.
They are really bringing it.
We just looked at them and we're like, damn.
Yeah. So all in all, very excited for that one.
Yeah. That's a good
I
fight.
want to touch on.
Touchy.
I want to touch you on. I didn't mean.
we want to take note of Andre Touchy Feely.
Yeah, I wanted to at least mention him because
Yeah.
I do love Andre Feely. I mentioned him in a couple episodes ago. I forget who I was talking about, but.
Well, this is a guy that's trained with, Cody Garbrandt and all those dudes with Alpha Male.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at his losses in UFC, because he's had a few.
I'm just looking at that most recent one.
Yeah, but if you start at the beginning, he lost to Max Holloway back in 2014.
Max Blessed.
Yeah. Then he loses to a guy named Godofredo Pepe, which I want to point out.
That's a cool name.
Is a guy that also, I've watched him fight a few times. Very good guy. Then he loses to Yair Rodriguez.
Yeah, that would have been Yair's coming out party.
Yeah. Calvin Kattar, another dude. Might be getting a title shot here soon.
Yeah.
Michael Johnson, who has the worst luck in the UFC.
Yeah.
But man, is he. If you look at, he's
talking
beat
about two
Michael
game
Johnson.
fighters?
Michael Johnson has beat Dustin Poirier.
Yeah.
Wait, didn't he beat Tony Ferguson, or am I stupid?
I think, you've texted me that one time When Michael was fighting, you're like, isn't it hard to believe that he's beaten both Tony and Dustin?
Yeah, and I believe there was a third one. Which
Now, this was before Tony's win streak.
He also really brought it to Justin Gaethje in Gaethje's debut in the UFC.
Yeah.
So
that fight was crazy.
And then his most recent loss to
Sadiq
Youssef.
You guys know how high I am on him.
Yeah, that's a dude that's probably going to be fighting for belts here.
Oh, yeah.
Not too long. But, I mean, even his wins, he's beat Miles Jury, he's beat Dennis Bermudez, another
Dennis
veteran.
the Menace.
Yeah, I mean, the guy's had good wins. He just always comes in and puts on a show.
Yeah.
And he's kind of one of those guys where
and he fights all the time.
He's one of those guys, for as many decisions as he's had, he's a kill or be killed type guy.
Yeah.
Like, he almost puts on a show when really he could probably point fight his way to a lot of victories.
Yeah, he's a really good fighter.
But he just likes to go in there and, like, really bang with people.
That's what you got to respect.
Yeah, so it'll be an interesting style matchup, I think, with Bryce Mitchell.
Yeah, and I don't think Feely's bad on the ground by no means. So that could be very fun.
No, he's definitely going to bring it.
And again, if Bryce really wants to crack into those top 15 guys, here you go.
Yeah, so all in all, very exciting fight, as you can tell.
The only fight announcement of the news, but that's a fun
second one. I mean, TJ Laramie.
Well, yeah, true.
But I think we'll end the news with this little thing. I think it's just weird.
Some hype.
I want you to kind of like.
You want me to just let him know?
Set
and then
the scene, yeah.
Okay, so basically, I'm going to have to see his name again, as a matter of fact. So Bellator double champ.
It's
featherweight and lightweight champion.
Yeah, it's Patricia
Pitbull.
Patricia. I think it's Patricia.
Patricia? I don't know. Anyway.
This is not good. We're showing how much of UFC bias we have right now.
We've said before.
This guy's the champ. He's like the number 2 pound for pound in Bellator.
Listen, we've told them we don't watch Bellator that much. We're getting better.
It's Patricio.
Patricio. He goes by Pitbull, okay? Patricio Ferreira. The Pitbull, damn it. He's a double champ.
It's like 100 pit bulls in MMA. How many damn people have the nickname the Pitbull?
Listen, let us know in the comments. Anyway, he's creating some buzz right now in the MMA world.
Yeah, him and Chris Cyborg.
Yeah. Anyway, Pitbull, okay? He's creating hype, and we don't see this often between Bellator and UFC. He wants to basically cross over. He's willing to put $1 million on the line with Dana White, if I'm not mistaken, that he can beat either or Alexander Volkanovski, the UFC's 145-pound champ, or Khabib Nurmagomedov, which I almost chuckled when I said that.
And I want to start this by...
Listen, I respect it.
I want to at least point out how this all came about.
Yeah.
And I believe it starts with...
Michael Chandler, if I'm not mistaken.
Michael Chandler, yes, but I want to go even before... Well, I don't know if it was before that, but before probably Michael Chandler's comments about wanting to go to the UFC. You saw when they released Corey Anderson. They asked Dana about it, and Dana said he can go be more competitive over there.
Yeah.
Which is not wrong. Not that he wasn't competitive in the UFC,
right.
But I mean, it wasn't like he was
like
shitting
if we're
on
talking
the guy.
for a belt.
Well, Corey Anderson did not like that.
Yeah, he didn't like that.
He said that basically he said Dana was lying on his name, like that's not how it went or whatever. I don't really know. I don't know if he's insinuating. I don't know what he's really getting at there. I get it. Like the way when Dana says that, you know what he's saying. He's saying you weren't good enough to be the top of the top in the UFC, so you're going to go to Bellator and try to be the top of the top there because you have a better chance.
Yeah. Which right now in that division, by the way, I watched that Ryan Bader lose his belt.
Yeah. That dude's tough.
Hey, that dude is a tough kickboxer from out of Russia. Yeah, so watch out for him. Ryan Bader.
And what's Corey Anderson's weakness? That old chin, baby.
Yeah, and
that chin be getting...
This dude kicked Ryan Bader's head off his shoulders.
Yeah, he did.
So.
Anyway. But yeah, that's kind of what started this. And then Michael Chandler's basically been pining to come to the UFC. Yeah. Or has at least been throwing a lot of feelers out there to the
Dustin
the
Poirier,
community.
Dan Hooker.
Yeah, been really trying to hype up these fights, saying, "Oh, this fight with Dan Hooker would be the best fight of all time," or "This fight with Dustin Poirier."
Well, like when Dana even says he wants to meet with him, then you know it's a big deal.
Yeah, and Pitbull beat Michael Chandler in 1 round in 1 minute.
1 minute, yeah. Yeah.
So obviously this guy's good.
Yeah.
Do not get me wrong.
Yeah.
And he has a brother who's also very good,
There you go.
who
Runs in
also
the blood.
goes by Pitbull.
Really?
I believe it's Patricky.
Interesting.
Yeah. So they both, they actually, their last names, like when they're announced, is Pitbull. Just an interesting note.
Fun fact.
Yeah. But, basically, that leads us to Michael Chandler saying all this stuff about wanting to go compete against the best of the best and whatnot. So, the before mentioned Pitbull, because I believe it's Patricio, but I don't want to keep trying to say that. So
Yeah.
Pitbull basically
He's
comes
calling
out and he says like, I beat that chump like in 1 minute,
Yeah.
like destroyed him, which is true. Not that he's a chump, but he beat him in 1 minute.
Yeah.
And he basically was like, Dana White, you bitch ass,
Yeah.
put up $1 million that I can beat.
Bring me in a crossover fight against one of your two champs.
Yeah, he said Alexander Volkanovski, the featherweight champ, or Khabib Nurmagomedov, the lightweight champ.
Well,
And
I'm chuckling
Dom
when-
sent me one of the tweets that Pitbull had put out, and he was like, "Oh, the news is heating up for tomorrow," and I kind of shut you down.
yeah, you did.
I went, "This is not news," because ultimately my feelings about this are this will never happen.
Here we go.
It will never happen,
Tell them why.
and here's why.
Everybody grab your popcorn.
Back in the early 2000s, I've mentioned this before, UFC was not always the king of MMA. Sure, they've basically been the king of MMA in North America for as long as
20
MMA's
plus
been
years.
around.
Yeah.
But MMA in America really did not take off until the post-Tough era, which was around 2005.
Yeah, very true.
So the UFC had been around for 12 years before that.
Yeah.
So, early 2000s, you're talking Pride FC. out of Japan.
On a worldwide basis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's ultimately the two hubs for MMA in its earliest points was Brazil
Yeah.
and then Asia.
Yep.
And Asia really, I mean, Brazil is more about the jiu-jitsu
Yeah,
aspect.
Asia's like the founder of
Because if you
mixed
really,
martial
because really
arts.
the foundings of MMA can be traced in a lot of ways back to the Gracie family, who are so entangled into that Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I mean,
Yeah.
really, that family's kind of been the biggest patriarch of
Yeah.
that art form. But Asia's definitely probably been, could be
Thousands
wrong,
of
but it's
years.
probably been the biggest.
Yeah.
So Pride FC was dominating over there.
Yeah.
Well,
It was like a part of their culture.
yeah.
And I think that's why it was so big.
So Dana White and the Fertitta brothers buy the UFC, and it's around UFC 31, which was in like 2000, 2001, something like that. So they buy it then. Yeah, for those of you that don't know, Dana White has not always been...
Right.
He actually started managing guys like Tito Ortiz and Chuck Liddell.
Yeah.
Before that, he started in boxing.
Yeah, like an amateur boxer, coach boxing.
He had a boxing gym in Boston.
Yeah.
The Whitey Bulger, the infamous gangster, a couple of the guys in his gang come to Dana's gym and basically are like, you owe us this amount of money on this day or else.
Yeah.
Well, that day comes and he gets another call that's like, hey, we're going to be there tomorrow.
He flew to Vegas.
He took a one-way trip to Vegas and he's like, well, I got it. So he's trying to make a living down there. He opened up a sports apparel line, which, fun fact, you can see that it's now defunct, or however you pronounce it. It's not around anymore. I forget what it's called. But if you watch Floyd Mayweather's very first professional boxing fight, he is
Yeah.
wearing Dana White's gear, his sports apparel line. So just a fun fact there.
I was about to say, you're really digging.
I know.
That is
definitely,
a great
I'm
fun
definitely
fact.
getting off.
I'll
my
keep you
point.
on track a little.
Yeah, so,
but no,
um,
that's awesome.
So yes, Dana and the Fertitta brothers, who are big heads of, they own a lot of casinos in Vegas. So that was why it was a big deal for them buying it, as far as getting established in Vegas, being able to.
What, they buy the UFC for $2 million, if I'm not mistaken,
maybe,
something like that.
Maybe $1 million, maybe $2 million. Yeah.
Sold it for $4.2 billion
Yeah.
in 2016.
Yeah,
Just wanted
so,
to throw that out
yeah.
there. But anyway,
So early 2000s was a different time. Pride FC is the biggest name in the market of MMA. So Pride, probably a couple years into the UFC's ownership, they come to, basically there's an agreement made where the UFC will send Chuck Liddell and I believe Randy Couture over to Pride to fight in their Grand Prix, which is essentially a tournament.
For their champion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a tournament, and that was something Pride was big for. Bellator does it now. UFC has never been one to really do that very much, but for their Grand Prix. And the deal was supposed to be that in return, Pride would send over Vanderlei Silva to fight Chuck Liddell in what would be probably the biggest fight of all time at that time.
Yeah.
Well, Chuck Liddell goes over there. He does okay, but he loses to Rampage Jackson in the Grand Prix. I can tell you that Pride never did send Vanderlei Silva over. So that fight doesn't happen. But they did have him. What's funny is they did have him come in the cage after one of Chuck's wins, and he did the whole. Vanderlei Silva does not speak great English, and he came in and he wanted to say,
"I want to fight Chuck."
I want to fight Chuck, and then say fuck Chuck.
Yeah. Well,
But he ends up saying, I want to fight Chuck. Fuck Chuck.
Yeah.
Basically almost said I want to fuck Chuck.
Yeah.
Not a great look, but it got everybody super excited because it was like the biggest fight ever.
Yeah, it was.
And then it never happens until Pride goes out of business around 2007.
It was a long overdue fight.
UFC buys out Pride. Most of their contracts weren't even void or weren't even eligible to be used. So really, they spent a lot of money on that purchase just to get a library of fights like on video.
Yeah.
So that was
shout out Fight Pass.
Yeah, shout out Fight Pass. But that fight does end up happening afterwards once that purchase is made and Vanderlei Silva comes into the UFC. But ultimately, my whole point with this story is that the UFC has been screwed over once. It's the whole fool me once.
Shame on you.
Shame on you. But then fool me twice. Shame on me.
Yeah.
So the UFC will not do anything like that again. Now they are the top dog.
Yeah. That's undeniable.
They are the top dog of MMA anywhere you go.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, ONE FC is doing really well over in Asia. So is Ryzen. Bellator's doing well. You got PFL, which right now is not doing great because they're not putting on fights, but they were doing well. Yeah. They were on ESPN.
Shout out Kayla Harrison.
Yeah.
Ohio girl.
From like 5 minutes from where we grew up.
Absolute savage.
So ultimately, there are other promotions doing well. This isn't like an NFL where they have like a complete stronghold of the market, but it's dominating enough to where there is no. Bellator is the number 2 promotion, but it's not close.
Yeah.
It's not. It just isn't. And I don't believe. I mean, you look at us. We are huge fans of the UFC. I consider us huge fans of MMA.
Yeah.
Yet we sat here and struggled to name what is probably the number 2 pound-for-pound guy in Bellator.
Yeah.
Now, that might say a lot about us.
No, probably.
Because we are very heavily towards the UFC. We lean much heavily towards there. But I think that'll speak a lot to the more casual viewers. They're not going to know any of these guys in Bellator besides the ones that already fought in the UFC.
It
will
Ryan
never
Bader,
happen. Rory McDonald. Yeah.
Gegard Mousasi.
Gegard Mousasi, which a lot of those guys, I mean, Gegard was what I'm thinking of, weren't really big names in the UFC to begin with.
Yeah.
So, all in all, this will never happen. And that's why, like, people, like, making a big fuss about it is, like, kind of annoying just because it's like, what? Like, I get it. It's a slow news week.
They're getting some clicks on their articles.
Because Chris Cyborg...
And Pitbull's getting hype on his name.
And Chris Cyborg also was adding fuel to this shit by talking her shit.
Team Bellator versus Team UFC.
Mind you, she's a featherweight champion of Bellator now. She was the featherweight champion of the UFC, a dominating women's fighter. Hadn't lost in like a decade. And then Amanda Nunes knocked her out in less than a minute.
Yeah.
Wasn't even close. Pieced her up.
Yeah.
And she has the gall to act like... I mean, look, I'm not saying if they fought a second time, Cyborg wouldn't have a chance or anything, because, I mean, she's definitely probably one of the best women's fighters in the world still, whether it's second, third, fourth, whatever. But, like, for her to act like that, like, has to happen again or something, like, come on. And, like, for her to try to use her as, like, an example of why Bellator can compete in UFC. I'm like, you got like if you're talking about champion versus champion, you lost your belt to Amanda Nunes in 40-some seconds. Less time than it took her to knock out Ronda Rousey.
A woman that had never fought at that weight class before.
Right.
Until that night.
Pieced her up.
And has since defended the belt at that division and is about to do it again.
I'm not saying that if the champions fought head-to-head that a couple Bellator fighters might not win. Because MMA is so unpredictable.
Yeah.
I mean, I know every UFC champion would be heavily favored, as they should. But I just think that it's like, it's just a little ridiculous to even like talk about it because it'll never happen unless like Pitbull decides to leave Bellator.
Yeah, he would have to literally come to the UFC.
And if he did that,
and then it's not the same.
I'm just gonna say if he did do that, I think he would lose to both of those champions.
Well, Habib,
like, come on, I can't.
Volk
to be fair, I can't say I've seen many Pitbull fights. We struggled to get his name.
Habib WrestleBear.
Habib WrestleBear.
Yeah.
Volkanovski has beat Max Holloway twice, technically.
And writes books. Children's books.
Yes, he does.
Fun fact.
So,
but yeah, man, like...
That's really all I have to say on the topic. I just wanted... At first, I was like, Dom, we're not doing this. I'm like, yeah, I know it's a slow news week, but we're not stooping to this. But then I thought about it, and I was like, no, I want to put it out there.
Like why it won't happen.
Yeah. And I know that's what that's what your intention was, but I'm just saying that at the time I was just like.
Now if this happens, people can reference episode 8 of the. Or
it'll be
episode
another.
9
It'll be in my second Shayna Dobson moment.
Yeah, 3 weeks in, and we're gonna have some, 2 or 3 moments.
The only way it happens is if Bellator champions decide to come to the UFC and put their money where their mouth is.
Yeah, like I can't see them doing like a pay-per-view Bellator versus UFC. That's not going to happen.
I just don't. Because
really,
if it did happen, when you're the top dog, you're the one with everything to lose in that.
Yeah.
Because nobody
in the UFC has a lot to lose if they were to lose to Bellator.
Nobody's going to think that Bellator will have a chance. So any guy that does win is just going to be like, what? And then any UFC champion that's going to win, it's like, well, of course they won.
Yeah. You have everything to gain if you're Bellator and everything to lose if you're the UFC.
Yeah.
So why would you?
Why even try?
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty much where we end it there, right?
Yeah. Is it time to preview some fights?
So that's the end of the news. So now we move on to our preview of #UFC Vegas 8. Get that hashtag out there, people.
Let's do it.
And we're gonna
Another good one.
Yeah,
I'm telling you.
Yeah, dude.
You cannot be sleeping on these fight nights.
And as we have mentioned, or as you maybe have heard if you've watched our other preview episode as of now, we really only touch on or at least go into detail about these main card fights.
The main card, yep.
Just because we'd be here forever if we talked. Now, there are some prelim fights that excite me. Maki Pitolo and Impa Kazagane.
Pitolo's a stud, another Contender Series alum.
Yeah.
He's a beast. He just fought 3 weeks ago.
Hannah Cyphers is the first fighter that, assuming she makes it to Saturday, will fight 4 times this year.
Yeah,
which is pretty incredible.
She could fight 5 times.
And I have a feeling there's going to be a lot more people that follow in her footsteps there this year because people are fighting on 3 weeks' notice and stuff.
A bunch of savages.
But for 2020, having that 6-week break and everything, and things kind of having a slow build to get to where we are now. It's pretty impressive that she's fought that many times. But that's, and then you got Alex Caceres.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't forget about him.
Bruce Leroy.
Bruce Leroy. Yeah. Always fun to watch.
Yeah, but anyways.
Poor guy can never string
I'm staring at this first fight, and I can't hold it any longer.
Well, let him know.
The first fight of the night, light heavyweight action, Magomed Ankalaev versus Jan Kudaleva. And I just want to mention...
Rematch.
Before I let you really get into the nitty-gritty here, I want to mention that this fight has happened before. It happened
recently.
Back in January.
Was it the Conor Cowboy card?
No, it was Figueiredo and Benavidez won.
Okay.
Which was... Actually, it was probably January or February now.
Yeah, it was this year.
Yeah, so we'll say January, just... It happened in 2020.
You can fact check
It happened in 2020.
Yeah.
Weird fight, but it looked awesome in the beginning. So basically, the Bruce Buffer is given the introduction.
The voice of the Octagon.
The voice of the Octagon going in like he always does. Jan Kudaleva, while he's being introduced, proceeds to walk to the other side of the Octagon straight at Ankalaev and just
bump into him. Like
he doesn't put his hands up. He just literally walks as if he's not there. And Ankalaev doesn't know what to do, so he just kind of hugs him. And it's like that. It looks like they're trying to do like that. The like thing where you like push somebody in the air and
dirty dancing.
Yeah, the dirty dancing thing, but not doing it well.
Yeah.
So then obviously security separates them.
Yeah.
The fight happens.
God, what a round!
It only lasts 38 seconds, but my God, those 38 seconds were brutal, powerful, just awesome.
Yeah.
But essentially, Kudelava's I don't know which one to call it, strategy here. I'm going to tell you what I think his strategy was. Because basically, after every shot that Magomed threw at him, he acted wobbled.
He was going to bait.
I think he was trying to bait him in.
Yeah.
But Magomed's throwing powerful strikes, but he's blocking all of them.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah.
Now, they're powerful shots.
Yeah.
But he keeps acting wobbled, and our referee...
He was nervous.
He
could saw the pre-fight. He's like, "Oh my God!"
After the first wobble, you could tell he was already like on edge.
Yeah, he's like.
So after the fourth time that Kudelava does it, he jumps in. Jan is pissed.
Kudelava's like, "What?"
If you thought, this is a man that just walked straight to the other side of the octagon into another man's arms that he was about to throw down with.
Yeah.
So yeah, if I'm not referee, I'm running. But fight ends in 38 seconds, very controversially. It looked like it was about to be a great fight.
Oh, yeah.
So now we have the rematch. And
which has already been scheduled.
It was scheduled
one or two times.
UFC 252.
Kudelava had COVID, so it got delayed. So here we are.
So, Dom, just break it down for us.
Let's get into the nitty-gritty.
Yeah, the nitty-gritty here.
All right. So, again, it's the rematch after the controversial TKO earlier this year. Magomed Ankalaev, that's how you say his last name, right?
Good.
He's 13-1. Okay, he's got 8 KO TKOs. He's 14-1. 14-1.
I'm just saying it because I had it in front of me.
There it is. 8 KO TKOs, might be 9 then. But he's 4-1 in the UFC. The only loss in the UFC was his UFC debut to Paul Craig, who we've mentioned on the podcast a few times.
Yeah,
we've talked about him a lot. But he lost to him via an arm triangle. Ever since then, he's won 4 in a row. Kudelava's 15-5. He's got 12 KO TKOs, 2 submissions. So if my math's correct, Noah, that's 14 out of 15 wins have came via finish.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know what percentage that is, but it's in the 90th percentile.
It's very good.
But he's only 4-4 in the UFC.
Right.
I will say he has, again, I don't want to say good losses, right? There's no good loss.
It's a killer's row.
So as my notes are here, I wrote notable losses instead.
Okay.
Misha Serkinov, lost to him by submission. A stud at light heavyweight. Kind of like, I guess you would call him a prospect, right? I think it's safe to say that.
He might be finally, in that vet status now.
Yeah.
But he still, has a lot of
a
room
ranked
to,
guy,
a lot
if
of
I'm
room,
not mistaken.
Yeah, a lot of room to grow. He's towards the back end of the top 15, but a lot of room to grow.
Lost to Jared Cannonier. This was when Cannonier was still at light heavyweight.
Yeah, it was a fight of the night.
Yeah, by the way, Cannonier now at middleweight, getting ready to fight Bobby Knuckles.
For a number 1 contender fight, probably.
Yeah, Robert Whitaker at middleweight. So Cannonier's on a tear. And then he lost to Glover Teixeira. Again, another veteran, former title challenger.
Who's about to fight Thiago Santos for a number 1 contender fight, more than likely.
So 3 of his 4 losses in the UFC are very strong. And then, of course, this one.
Yeah, which, in my opinion, I'm scratching it.
Yeah, right? So, and then he has one notable win against Khalil Roundtree via TKO.
Right.
So, this is a fun fight. We only got to see 38 seconds of it when they fought earlier this year, but if that goes for 3 rounds, I'm not going to be able to watch the rest of the fights.
It's my fight of the night prediction.
I'm not going to know what to do with my hands.
It's my fight of the night prediction.
I'm going to agree with you.
Yeah.
Even if it only goes 1 round.
There's some great fights.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing that might stop it is that someone might get knocked out early.
Yeah. But it has all the makings of a fight of the night. Prediction-wise.
Yeah. I think I know where you're going to go here. Maybe I don't. You're really thinking about it.
I'm going to... Do you already know what you're going to say?
I think so. You want me to go?
I got it. I think I got it.
All right.
I'm going Ankalaev again.
Mm-hmm.
This time, obviously, a convincing victory. I am going to say, I think we get a 3-round slugfest.
Think-
But finish in the 3rd round via TKO for Magomed Ankalaev. That's what I'm going with.
Okay. So, if you look at Jan's losses in UFC, he has lost to Serkinov by submission. He lost a decision to Cannonier, another submission to Shera, and then the TKO by Ankalaev, but I'm not counting that. Before that, his only other loss outside the UFC was actually by DQ because he punched too many punches to the back of the head.
Well, if you know this guy, he just swings, so I'm not surprised.
While on the other end, Ankalaev's only lost to Paul Craig, which, fun fact, happened with 1 second left in the whole fight.
And it was the arm triangle.
Yes, it was. So, this fight could really go either way. I know Magomed has a lot of the... he has a lot of title challenging hopes here. I mean, this guy's got an impressive resume.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the people he's fought being Marcin Prokhnio, a guy we talked about last week. He was his first UFC win.
I mean, anyone that's 14-1,
but
you're pretty good.
All in all, I think I might go the other way here. I might go Jan Kudaleva. Basically, I see this also going 3 rounds.
All the way?
No.
Oh.
No. I see this going all 3 rounds. I see it being a slugfest, which is what you're saying. I just think, I'm thinking about it, these guys I think are going to be trading from the very beginning.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think in my head, which guy is going to keep coming in that late end of the 3rd round? I think it's Kudaleva. That guy has, he just, there's something about him that's like, that dude's not going to stop coming.
No. His nickname's the Hawk. He
Saying,
once painted his whole body
Not
green.
saying Ankalaev won't be game.
Yeah.
But, this is an important fight for him. He's 4-4 in the UFC. You never want to get that below 500 in the UFC.
Yeah.
No matter what. Even if you're putting on great fights, it's just not a great look.
Yeah.
I think he's going to pull it out here. I'm going TKO KO in the 3rd round.
So we did the same prediction, but different fighter.
Yeah. And honestly, it would not surprise me if it went the other way. Would not surprise me if Ankalaev came out and just put on a show. But,
Well, this fight could easily end in the first 30 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, I like
We're just hoping for that
When
war.
I'm comparing who guys have fought, it's not just who they beat; it's who they've lost to as well. And Kudaleva's definitely got that advantage for him.
Yeah, man.
In the sure, his wins may not stick out to you besides Roundtree, but yes, no such thing as a good loss. But I mean, those losses are against great guys.
Yeah.
So it'll be very interesting to see how it goes. But yeah, I'm going to go with Kudaleva there.
Alrighty.
So then, our second fight, we got Ricardo Lamas versus Bill Algeo, the Tuesday Night Contender vet who lost on that show. Getting another chance here against
a game opponent.
Tough guy.
We've talked about this on the podcast.
Yeah.
Him and Max Holloway, the last 10 seconds of their fight, Max points to the ground, says, "Let's bang."
Yep.
Well, did they ever?
Ricardo's like, bet.
I'm just picturing it in my head, and I'm like, they showed it all over their social medias this
awesome.
week.
So,
it was one of the best moments.
Get to the nitty gritty here, Dom.
Alrighty. So we got Ricardo Lamas, 38 years old, which is so hard to believe to me for some reason. 19-8. He's got 6 KO TKOs, 5 submissions. He's 10-6 in the UFC. Notable losses. Ladies and gentlemen, this is quite the resume here. Both wins and losses. So he's got losses to Jose Aldo. By the way, one of the best featherweights of all time. Number 5 on my GOAT list. Kind of a big deal, right?
Kind of a big deal.
Yeah. And this was at his high.
Yeah,
this was when Jose was still the king.
This was the dominant featherweight champion, Jose Aldo.
Then he loses to Chad Money Mendez, TKO. Again, shout out our boy Max Bless. We just talked about that. Lost unanimous decision. Got KO'd by Josh Emmett. If you ain't seen Josh Emmett punch somebody in the face, it's pretty brutal.
It's pretty brutal.
And then he's also lost to Calvin Kattar via TKO, who we talk about all the time. Young stud, on a roll right now. Mm-hmm. So TKO'd by him. Notable wins, he's beaten your boy Cub Swanson. I know how you feel about Cub.
Yeah, I love me some Cub Swanson.
He's beaten Dennis the Menace Bermudez, Diego Sanchez, Tough One alum, been in the UFC since I was literally barely walking.
Yeah.
Charles
Oliveira.
Oliveira.
Yeah.
You sure?
That's how I hear it pronounced.
All right. Well, anyway, he beat him by submission. Fun fact: Charles is the leader in submission victories in UFC.
Yes.
So kind of interesting there. And then he's beaten Darren Elkins. If you haven't seen Darren Elkins fight, you're probably going to see a fight of the night.
Mind you, he finished Darren Elkins.
Yeah, by TKO.
That's a guy who...
He doesn't get finished.
He does not.
He just bleeds.
He bleeds.
Yeah, and punches.
Literally, his nickname's The Damage.
He has it tattooed on his chest.
Tattooed on his chest. And the nickname is because of the damage he gets on him.
And he has one of the best comebacks in UFC history. If you haven't seen it, look up Darren Elkins' comeback.
Mirsad Bektik, the guy that you just talked about.
And then on the other end, we've got Bill Algeo, who's, again, technically making his UFC debut. He fought on the Contender Series, but he lost. He's 13-4. He's got 3 TKOs and 6 submissions. Again, he lost to Brendan Loughnane. I'm going to go with Loughnane.
Loughnane.
Via unanimous decision. And again, this is his UFC debut to me. What organization was he in prior? Or I guess, what was his last fight?
It says
after the
CFFC, which would be...
I'm not even sure.
It's
Cage Fury Fighting Championship.
Oh, okay. That's on Fight Pass. So, yeah.
That's where he's coming from. That's his most recent win. I want to say it's another, like, veteran versus a up-and-coming prospect, but I don't know if I want to call Algeo that because he's been fighting since, like, what, 2013 or 14?
Yeah, I mean, he's not really a rising prospect either because he hasn't really proved it
right,
at
and
the
he
UFC
lost
level.
in the Contender Series.
He's been fighting since 2012. I will say Ricardo Lamas did say this week that he feels like this fight, you can tell he's not taking it lightly because the quote was, this fight is set up for Algeo to, like, prove a point.
Yeah.
So I ultimately see this fight also going to a decision. Or
this could be another.
Not also going. I see this fight going all three rounds as well. But for a decision, I think Lamas is going to get the win ultimately. But I think you're going to see a more tentative Lamas in this fight because ultimately this is his third opponent. This one being brought in just a couple days ago.
Yeah. So, I didn't even know he had a finalized fight until like.
Not that Lamas has ever been a guy to like shy away, but I think he recognizes where he's at in his UFC career.
Yeah. He
has not fought in about a year.
Yeah, it's been a while.
So, I mean...
How's he going to look?
Yeah, it's been over a year, actually, for him. So, his last fight, he got knocked out in a round by Calvin Kattar. So, a lot of that has to be in his mind. And this is a guy he's not going to know much about going into Fight Night.
You're near the end of your career.
A hungry kid wanting to really get that contract. That's why ultimately I think Lamas gets the win. I think it'll be maybe closer than maybe you would think just based on their resumes. But Lamas gets a convincing win, gets him back in the win column. But it goes all 3 rounds in my opinion. Probably a more tentative fight, not one that I think will be super exciting. I hate predicting so much about it because it just sets me up for failure later. So take over, please.
I'm gonna go out on a limb for this one.
Yeah.
For some reason, I just got a little tinkle in me here.
You know, does my prediction come off like I feel that as well, but I'm not willing to go all the way with it?
Now that you say it, maybe. But
like
at the time,
we did,
I didn't think
we didn't do this podcast when Brunson fought Shabazian. But do you remember?
I think we both.
You predicted Brunson to win right before the fight. You go, I have a feeling about Brunson.
Yeah.
And you asked me who I thought, and I said I have that same feeling, but I'm going Shabazian.
Yeah. And
I think that's something I do quite a bit.
Yeah.
Because I'm an overthinker, so I'll like get these feelings about different guys winning.
Yeah.
But I won't go quite all the way with it, so I just go, well, they'll put on a good performance.
There's like, and this only happens to me every now and again, where I'm just like, I really feel that something surprising is going to happen.
Right.
I'm going with Algeo victory.
Okay.
Second round submission.
Second round submission, okay.
I almost want to go as far to say what submission, but I'm not going to. But I'm thinking
Algeo. You want to go arm triangle.
No, I was actually going to go guillotine.
Oh, okay.
Well, here you go. They heard it, right?
Yeah.
I don't know why, but again, this guy has 6 submission wins, which stands out to me. Lamas has 5, so It could be either way. Lamas definitely has the advantage in terms of competition faced. I mean, my God, look at the list of people.
Guess what all of his submission finishes are by?
Who? Algeo?
Rear naked choke.
I mean, the most common there is, right?
Yeah, all of them.
So, I don't know. I'm going Algeo second round submission. I would like to see Lamas win. Fan favorite, at the tail end of his career.
Sure.
But that's what I'm going with.
This is no Shayna Dobson. This is, for me, it's not like someone who it would be a complete shock. Ricardo Lamas is on the tail end of his career. We don't really know what he's going to look like. He hasn't been around in a year.
Yep.
That last performance, I mean, he was going up against a stud, but, it was definitely, like, he's lost 3 of his last 4. There's a lot on the line here for him. So it could end up being a long day at the office for old Lamas, but... I definitely am intrigued by this fight. I don't know how good of a fight it'll end up being. Is kind of my thing. So moving on from there, women's flyweight action. Alexa Grasso,
one of only, I want to say 10 or 11 Mexican fighters on the UFC roster right now. Fun
That's
fact.
Interesting. Yeah. Going up against Ji-Yeon Kim. So, Dom, I want you to break it down for the people.
Let's get into it. So, Alexa is 11-3 overall. She's got 4 TKOs. The rest are obviously by decision. But she's 3-3 in the UFC. However, all 3 of her losses are against what I would call studs, for the most part.
Yeah.
Felice Herrig was her UFC debut, if I'm not mistaken.
That was in 2017. Felice just fought and did not
got smoked.
Yeah. But... she's been very inactive over the past couple of years.
Had
At
injuries.
that time, she was looking really good. You know?
Yeah.
And shout out to her. Love that woman.
She's awesome.
Yeah.
So she loses to Felice by decision. She loses to, if you don't know, I predicted this woman to be the UFC champion this time next year. Of strawweight. Yeah, true. Yeah. I guess I'll preface. Grasso is making her. Well, you said this at the beginning. This is her first fight, if I'm not mistaken, at flyweight, which is 125 pounds. We don't have to go into the whole what weighs more debate.
I wasn't even thinking that. Okay. Why did you bring it up again?
But anyway, she's moving up from 115 to 125. So yeah, these losses are at 115. She lost to Tatiana Suarez, who I predicted to be the champ next year for that division, via submission because she's the female Habib and she's unstoppable. And then she lost a majority decision to Carla Esparza. Now she does have one notable win that stood out to me, and that's against the sweetest woman in the UFC, Karolina Kowalkiewicz. Always giving the camera that wink.
Yeah, such a shame that she
was once undefeated, and now she is.
Yeah, when I don't think it was the first card in New York, but the UFC 205.
Yeah.
Their big return to New York.
Joanna.
Yeah, she was fighting Joanna. Put on a pretty good probably.
Yeah, had Joanna injured a little bit.
But ever since then, man.
Yeah.
I think Andrade took her soul.
Yeah.
Talk about. Look,
you don't see knockouts like that in the female division.
Talk about a brutal women's knockout.
Yeah. Then she bounced her head off.
Yeah, Jessica Andrade.
Yeah, that was brutal.
Kowalkiewicz. Woo!
Yeah. Go look that up. It was bad. But she beats her by unanimous decision. So again, 3-3 in the UFC, but I think she's kind of always had that young prospect vibe about her, and I think it hasn't changed.
I think she still does.
And I'm interested to see her in the new weight class.
Yeah, for sure.
And then we've got Kim on the other hand, who is 9-2-2. She's got 2 TKOs, 3 submissions, and she's 3-2 in the UFC. No notable wins, in my opinion, that stand out to me. But one notable loss, she did lose to Antonina Shevchenko. If you don't know, that's Valentina Shevchenko's champion. Or
her sister.
Yeah, Valentina's sister, who is the flyweight champion.
Yeah.
And one of the most dominant champions in the UFC right now.
And Kim is the number 14 ranked flyweight in the rankings.
Well, okay, I didn't even know she was ranked, so okay. This is a big fight for Grasso.
I mean, okay.
For both, but
So, Ji-Yeon Kim has missed weight in her last 2 fights. I want to point that out.
I thought that was interesting.
So she's bigger for that division.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm not calling her big.
Yeah.
But she's bigger for that division. I think this is the easiest fight to predict in the outcome.
Really?
Decision.
Well, Yeah.
Just based on their. I mean, yes, Kim in her last fight did have a KO with a punch to the body. Don't see that very often.
Oof.
But I'm going Grasso via decision.
I'm going to agree with you here. I'm going Alexa. I think she gets a big win at 125 to kind of set her up for a top 10 in that division.
Yeah.
And again, she's the younger fighter, the more hype around her. I think the higher ceiling for her. I'm going with a decision by Grasso as well in this one.
Yeah. I mean, all in all, though, this could end up being a fight that surprises a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is the one that I have the least amount of anticipation for going in.
Yeah.
But that's not...
Could always surprise you,
Yeah, that's not because of it being, like, women fighting or whatever. It's just, I don't know a ton about Ji-Yeon Kim.
I don't either, yeah.
I know a decent amount about Grasso, but none of her fights have really stuck out to me as being, like, just great fights.
It would be nice for either one of them to get, like, a convincing finish.
Right.
But we'll see.
We'll see what happens. But I guess that will take us into our co-main event.
Why do I feel like we're going to talk about the co-main more than the main event?
I
know you're going to have a lot to say
I can
here.
tell you why.
Let me flip my page.
Because my favorite fighter of all time...
Look at my notepad here.
Besides maybe Stipe, it's a toss-up.
And look at all this. I'm gonna ramble on the nitty-gritty here.
It's a whole page worth for you
Sheesh.
guys who can't see, which is all of you. But Ruthless Robbie Lawler is back.
He's back.
Going up against Neil Magny.
What, 3 weeks notice? 4 weeks? 3 weeks?
Yeah, I mean, not much
Magny was
notice.
supposed to fight who?
Supposed to fight Jeff Neal.
Jeff Neal, who had the bad infection.
Who's a badass.
Yeah,
man.
that fight would have been really cool.
Yeah, shout out Jeff Neal. Can't wait to see him back in the
Right, I
octagon.
hope he's back before the end
But
of the year.
what a replacement fighter to get right here. Haven't seen
Yeah,
Robbie in
man.
a year.
This came out of left field.
Haven't seen Robbie in over a year after that destruction by the hands of Colby Covington.
Yeah, right?
So Dom, if you want to break it down, I might ask you to annotate a little bit because that's a whole ass page
Hey,
right there.
let's let him know.
Yeah, just
Listen
tell
here.
him.
Don't, Neil Magny, I don't even know. How do I want to describe Neil Magny? I don't want to call him a gatekeeper.
I think he's underrated.
He's so underrated, and I don't know why. He has a lot of decision wins, yeah, whatever. He's good, man.
I'll put it like this. You know who he reminds me a lot of?
Let's hear it.
This is just the first name that came to mind when I thought of his situation. He reminds me of Michael Chiesa.
Yeah.
Here's why.
Yeah.
He's a guy who will get some highlight reel wins, just some good wins. He'll really grind a win out. And then right when he's on the cusp of being this guy's title challenger or in that top 6 range,
Yeah.
he loses.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how it's been.
Yep.
He doesn't have many losses in the UFC.
Yeah.
He's been fighting in the UFC since literally 2013.
Man, he's been in the UFC forever. So
He's got 5 losses in the UFC.
yeah.
But outside of the 2 at the very beginning of his UFC career, after those 2 losses, he goes on to win the next.
He had I wrote he had in 2014 and 2015 he had a 7-fight win streak.
7-fight win
and
streak.
4 of those 7 were by finish.
Then right when he's about to, once again, he's on the cusp of being title challenger, loses Damian Maia by submission.
Yeah, you guys know who Damian Maia is?
Then he bounces back, beats Eric Silva, who at the time was just kind of over his big prospect backing.
Yeah.
Eric Silva was great at one time.
Mm-hmm.
Beats Eric Silva. Beats Kelvin Gastelum.
Yep.
Beats Hector Lombard.
Yep.
Then loses to Lorenz Larkin
Yep.
by TKO. Then he comes back, beats Johnny Hendricks. Sure, Johnny Hendricks had a tough time at this point.
Still, though, that's a notable.
Is the end of 2016 Johnny Hendricks, but still, it's a big name, big W. Then he loses to RDA.
Yeah.
Then he beats Carlos Condit,
That was
a legend.
his welcome back fight, I think.
Carlos
Because he
Condit.
took some time
Yeah,
off.
I think
I
you're
think
right.
that was his welcome back to the UFC.
And then he loses to Santiago Ponzinibbio, who I can't
that
wait
guy,
to see fight again.
yeah.
But that fight, if you've ever seen that fight, and if you haven't, go watch it. It won't make you think Magny is great. but
Ponzinibbio is a beast.
That fight's a bit scary to watch. I mean, it goes 4 rounds, but it looks like a predator just stalking his
That was a
prey.
fight night main event, right?
Yeah. And then since then he's beat Li Jingliang, who's great. I keep saying that, and Anthony Rocco Martin, another.
And I had Anthony Rocco Martin going in. I predicted him to win that fight.
Yeah.
So,
but I'm sorry, I kind of cut you off there. So
you're good. Like those are my notable wins. Like he's so underrated, and he's a great fighter. He's 23-7, right? 7 KO TKOs, 3 subs. So that's where you see that kind of decision type fighter come into play, because over half of his wins are via decision. But like, I don't think that should take away from a fighter as much as it does to people. And again, I have 16-6, but he might be 16-5 in the UFC. Either or, that's a great record. Like, you cannot take that away from him. And the losses he's had are all notable opponents, huge wins. But again, like you said, he's always been right there on the cusp, and then he'll lose. You know?
And I don't necessarily think this fight puts him like on the cusp, but it's definitely going to be talked about because this is a big name.
Well, and if you look at this, so like when he went on that 7-fight win streak in 2014, 2015. In 2015, this is when Robbie was the champ. So like he was working his way to where this fight could have happened years ago. But Here we are now in 2020. Lawler's 13th ranked, Magny's 14th. Short notice. Co-main event. We got to get into Robbie Lawler.
We do.
All right. Let me clear my throat because this is going to be a lot. He's 28-14. This guy's done it all, seen it all. 20 KO TKO victories. 20.
This man's been fighting for a
long time. And in one submission. I did want to. He's got one submission,
which is kind of hilarious.
So, in his first stint with the UFC, because if you didn't know, Robbie Lawler was with the UFC back in the day.
2002.
When he had hair on his head.
18 years ago.
It's crazy, man.
I was barely speaking.
Yeah. He went 4-3, so he had a positive record, right? But gets let go. He fights in Strikeforce, he fights in another organization.
King of the Cage.
Yeah, like
he had a fight in Pride.
He's been everywhere.
Elite XC, that was the promotion. Kimbo Slice was like the big name for a while.
And then Robbie comes back, and this is where we see that man.
I want to mention his Strikeforce run was very lackluster.
I noticed that when I was looking.
Like, people thought he was done.
It's crazy he got to come back to the UFC.
Yeah, like his Strikeforce career, because Strikeforce was a big promotion when it was around. He loses to Jake Shields, who was like the man over there. Beats
stud.
Melvin Manhoff, which was a fight he was being dominated for 3 minutes, and then out of nowhere gets the knockout. Loses to Renato Sobral. Then he beats Matt Lindland. Loses to Jacare Souza and Tim Kennedy. And then after that, he has a win over Adlan Amagov, loses to Lorenz Larkin, and that's it.
He comes back to the UFC.
He literally went 3-4 in Strikeforce. So he comes back to the UFC. No, 3-5. Sorry.
It blows my mind that they brought him back. But I'm so glad they did.
I wouldn't even say I'm surprised they brought him back. I'm just surprised that he was ever able to get to those heights that he got to.
And I think it's safe to say, this could be a bold hot take, but this is a run, like when Robbie Lawler became champ, right, in welterweight. He went on a run that was probably one of the most unpredictable, unforeseen title runs we've ever seen in the UFC. And went on to defend the title multiple times.
Here's my hot take. The most underrated title reign in UFC history.
I'm all
this
for
man
that.
was putting on shows.
He had two, back-to-back fight of the years.
Back-to-back.
In 2015, 2016. Rory McDonald in 2015. If you have not seen that fight, I think it's agreed upon most of the MMA community. That's one of the best UFC fights ever.
Ever.
It's top 5.
Probably, yeah.
Easily. And then in 2016, he had a fight of the year with Carlos Condit.
Which is a fight, split decision.
Yeah.
Some people thought Carlos Condit won.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it in a long time, but I mean, it'd be hard for me to pick.
But the fact that this dude, back-to-back fight of the years?
Yeah.
5-round wars? Well, Rory's in it in
the
fifth round,
yeah.
but you get what I'm saying. Robbie's lip was...
Ultimately, it's not like he had a ton of title defenses. He wins the belt over Johnny Hendricks in a rematch.
He avenged his loss.
Yeah, a fight that I thought he clearly won, even though it was a split decision.
Yep.
Then you have that fight with Rory, and then that fight with Carlos. That's the title reign.
But like those two dudes then were like the baddest men in that division.
December 2014 to January 2016. It's not a very like long, or there's, like I said, not a ton of title defenses, but back-to-back fight of the years.
Well, you can only fight so much when you have two 25-minute wars.
That fight with Carlos Condit happened on the second day of 2016.
Wow.
And yet...
And it was the fight of the year. The whole year could play out after the fact, and it didn't matter.
And then he fights Tyron Woodley.
Ooh.
Tyron Woodley lands...
I remember watching that. That was in Atlanta, Georgia.
Yep.
Tyron Woodley hit him...
with an overhand right, I believe.
Dude, at that time...
Gave me a shiver down my spine.
Tyron Woodley was a bad dude.
Here's the thing.
When he put him on the cage and then landed all the extra shots, I was like, oh my God.
Tyron Woodley is a guy that gets a pretty bad rap. Even by me. I've been guilty of it. I've even kind of slipped up and said it. If you go back, you can find that Easter egg somewhere in our library, where I said something about not being a big fan of him, and that's not fair to him.
Yeah.
He is a guy, when he wants to,
he can put on a show and a performance.
But to his credit, he recognizes when he was on top, like he recognized that these guys got to come for me.
Yeah.
So he never strayed away from his game.
He did what he had to do to win. Yeah. He defended the title 4 times.
Yeah. I mean, he was pretty
That's
dominant.
like one of the most in that division.
I was shocked at how Usman beat him.
Yeah.
And then how Gilbert Burns beat him. Like, those were shocking because you'd just not seen him be like handled like that in a long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, for Ravi, he's lost 3 straight. Now, if you look at the losses, Colby Covington, I went back and watched that fight before this. Because I had not watched it since I
don't think I have seen it since.
And I didn't want to.
Yeah.
But here's what I recognized about that fight. And I want to give credit to MMA On Point, because I also watched or listened to or watched at the same time their live show they did. Jason talked about this
Shout out Jason.
Yeah. So he talked about this fight. And I saw the same thing that he saw. What's so impressive about that performance, it's not, like, at the time I remember just being like, Ravi's done. I'm like, he doesn't look good. You know, like, he's done.
Yeah.
Like, he's getting pieced up by a guy who's a wrestler. I was like so upset about it.
Colby set a record for significant strikes in that fight.
But Colby's game plan was so perfect, because what he would do is he would take down Ravi, and then he would let Ravi get back up, and then take him down again. And ultimately, he repeated that to the point where Ravi just gassed himself.
Yeah.
And
Colby does not tire.
It takes a lot of energy to get up.
Yeah.
When you've been
especially when you
down.
got him.
So that opened him up to just strike with Robbie Lawler, who's a dangerous striker.
Wasn't a lot of it like clinch work on the cage too?
Yeah, a lot of clinch work. I mean, it was just I don't want to say Hail Mary. It was a just picture perfect performance.
Yeah.
But before that fight with Ben Askren.
We've talked about that.
Controversial, to say the least.
Very.
But, hey, Ben Askren gets the win.
Bulldog choke.
But does not leave the cage unharmed.
Yeah.
In the first 20, 30 seconds, Ravi
dropped him on his head.
Tombstone pile drives this man. And I thought finished the fight. Like, I thought it was very close.
I agree.
I think even Ben said after the fight, I think he said that, like,
well, they could have stopped it, I think
he said that he got, like, flash KO'd.
Yeah.
And before that, RDA pretty much handled him in another decision loss. And before that, you got the Donald Cerrone win, which is very close. A fight that...
Can you believe that fight happened?
Yeah, we watched that live. And like
Robbie Lawler fought Donald Cerrone.
Yeah, it was a good fight, but like a fight could have went either way.
Yeah.
And then before that, you have the Tyron fight.
Yeah.
So really, he has been a lot less active, which is probably good for him.
And he's still fighting the top
dudes. He's
man.
lost 4 of his last 5, but by no means do I feel like he's done. It's just this is a tough fight for him to come back to.
If he loses, it's hard to like see him come back again.
So I'm curious, Dom, what's your prediction for this fight?
Man, this is hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is the hardest fight on this card to predict.
Oh, well, tell me
by
about
a long shot.
Tell me about it.
We've talked about how underrated and underhyped Magny is.
Right.
And how You can't like he's a stud on the ground.
Yeah.
That's where I think the real like difference is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
But Lawler, man, again, 20 KOs. At the end of the day, though, I can't. Has been getting ready for a fight. He's been preparing to fight somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he has more to gain from this. Robbie's on his way out. It's safe to say that, right?
Yeah.
Don't you think?
I mean,
not that like he's not done, but he's on his way out the door.
I mean, I don't ever see him fighting for a belt again.
Yeah, he's got 1 foot out the door, 1 foot still in. Well,
Okay, all right,
that
all right.
last foot is getting kicked out
Okay.
on Saturday.
How so? How do you figure?
Neil Magny. See, man. Originally, I was going to go Magny submission, but the more I think about it, and the more I look at my notes, and the more we talk about it, I love Robbie. I'm going Neil Magny by a decision in this fight. That's how I ultimately see it going. Now, can I see Robbie KOing Magny because he's been subject to get KO'd? Yeah, but that's what I'm going with. I might have just upset you. You might want to quit the show.
No, not at all.
Okay.
I mean, I completely understand that. And really, it's so hard for me to, like, put, like, that love I have for Robbie Lawler aside.
Yeah.
It's so hard. Which is why I'm glad that I think he's going to win this fight.
Wow.
Now, I will say, like, this fight is so hard on paper that it's kind of like I'm just like, all right, I'm just going to pick the guy I want.
Yeah, it's hard, man.
But I legitimately think that for all the credit we gave Neil Magny, again, he's kind of in that same spot we found him in time and time
Is
again.
he going to get it done?
And I don't think he will. He could. And I think that the way you're, like, laying it out is perfectly acceptable way of this fight going. And I think that is, if Magny wins, I think that is kind of the likely route. Is he
A decision?
Kind of, a controlled fight. He controls Robbie, keeps him on the ground. I think Robbie's going to knock him out.
Wow.
I think he's going to knock him out. And I'm going to go with, fuck it. I'm going with the first round knockout.
First round knockout.
There might be some... There might be some bias in this guess.
Hey, man.
I'm really trying to put it aside. Like, I promise the viewers, like, I legitimately believe this, but I'm also, like, trying so... Like, I know Robbie's, like, not at the top anymore. I know that in my heart.
Yeah.
But when you were sitting there and you were like, yeah, he's got 1 foot out the door, I'm like, oh, but I'm like, does he? Is he really, like, is that... Because I really thought he wasn't... I thought we might not ever see him fight again.
Yeah.
Because it had been a year now.
Yeah.
And that fight with Covington was just...
A 3-fight losing streak.
It had to be hard on him.
Demoralizing.
But he's back. And I'm wondering... And, like, coming back on short notice, like, that hunger's just got to be back, right? Like, he's got to be back. Or he just wants a paycheck. But
Can I point out one quote that just sends shivers down my spine from Robbie Lawler?
Yes, I know the quote.
He
I
said...
want it tattooed on me.
And I'm not going to say the whole thing, but just like the second part.
Yeah.
He's in an interview. This was, again, at his, like, peak.
This was for the Rory fight, right?
Yeah. And he said that when he hits people, right? Is that how he put it? He doesn't take their chin, if I'm not mistaken.
And the interviewer says...
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
He says, I take their soul.
Robbie Lawler, first round knockout. Enough said.
Main event.
Look, you guys can make fun of me all you want. You can say, oh, he's just being biased. He's just, you know...
No, man. Like,
I just... There's... You know what we were talking about, having that, like, feeling?
This is yours.
Yeah, and it might just be because I love him, but fuck it, I'm listening to it now.
I could easily see it being a Lawler knockout. I wouldn't be surprised one bit if that were to happen.
I think this is a very even fight on paper, but again, fights aren't made on paper.
It's kind of your striker grappler, really.
Fights aren't made on paper, they're made in the octagon. So
Yeah.
I guess that's kind of where we'll leave that one, right? I think we'll see. I think it'll be interesting to do our recap show
yeah.
on this one.
The Lionheart's back.
The main event time, It is
3 rounds, by the way. I do want to point that out. This is not a 5-round main event.
I forgot about that. I'm glad you mentioned that.
This is a 3-rounder, just being that it came up kind of short notice.
Yeah. Anthony Lionheart Smith going up against Alexander Rakic. Dom, you know what to do.
Let's get into the nitty gritty.
Mm-hmm.
Anthony Smith, he will be fighting his 49th professional fight this Saturday. 49. That's almost 50. He's 33-15. This is a stat right here. I really like this. This man has 18 KO TKOs, 12 submissions. He gets slept on for how good he is on the ground, and I won't hear otherwise. And that's just facts.
Yeah.
That's 30 out of 33 wins have came via finish. I don't know what percentage that is. It's pretty damn high. He's 8-4 in the UFC. He started out as a middleweight, and now he's at light heavyweight. Some notable losses I wanted to point out. He lost to Thiago Santos, who is your champion 1 year from now at light heavyweight.
True.
This loss happened at middleweight at 185 via TKO. He then launches himself into the light heavyweight division, which I'll touch on. But he's lost to John Jones, kind of, considered one of the best in the world, by unanimous decision. And then he also just came off a tough loss, man, to Glover Teixeira. That fight as Anthony Smith has grown on me a lot.
You're a big Anthony Smith
He has
guy.
that it factor for me where I'm like, this guy's a blue collar. He reminds me of Stipe a lot, to be honest. Like that blue collar dude.
Sure. Yeah,
that's just really tough.
He's very well spoken though.
Yeah, he's very.
I feel like that was a knock on Stipe. Stipe.
Well, I see what you're saying.
That's not what I meant. I just mean he's very well spoken.
Yeah, and that was hard seeing him lose to Teixeira, which I'm sure we'll get into.
That was kind of a demoralizing because he looked
really
great early on.
It really
as soon as Glover hurt him though, it was pretty much done. It was just like 2 rounds.
Smith in the first 2 rounds was unreal. If
Jason Herzog stops that fight in like the end of the 3rd, early 4th round, I don't feel like there's as much.
You don't.
Because right now, like what's in my head with Anthony Smith is like, is this the decline? Like he had his rise.
Yeah.
Is this the decline? Like, is this where he goes on that? As we always talk about it, the 3-fight skid.
Yeah.
The inevitable for guys that won't hang it up.
Yeah.
That's if it's stopped at a more appropriate time. I'm not sitting here wondering like how many punches can this guy really take.
Yeah, I agree.
But anyways, continue.
But yeah, that loss, sucked to see that. And I'll basically tell you why. So the notable wins, again, we've got a Hector Lombard victory when he was still at middleweight. He KO'd him. By the way, Hector Lombard, that dude's a stud. He's a beast. He's built like a statue. He reminds me of Yoel Romero a lot. When I look at their bodies almost. And not many people can compare to Yoel.
Yeah.
And then this is when he makes... So after the loss to Thiago Santos at middleweight, this is where we see his rise at the light heavyweight division.
Right.
And it starts with a legend, former champion, Sugar Rashad Evans. You know what he does to him? KOs him with a knee to the face.
Knee to the face.
Then he fights another former champion, Shogun Rua. You know what he did to him?
What'd he do now?
KO'd him with an elbow to the face.
To the face.
Then he goes on to beat another former title challenger, Volkan Ozdemir. Very good fight. Ends up submitting him in the 3rd or 4th.
It was the 3rd round.
It was the main event of a fight night, I think.
3rd round.
So submits him in the 3rd round. This sets him up for his title fight with John Jones. He gets dominated, let's be honest.
Puts on a Lionheart performance.
He could have taken a disqualification loss and won the belt.
Yes, he could have.
So shout out to him. That's what really won me over. He could have won the belt.
Right.
He could have taken a disqualification and got that belt, and he chose not to. He said, that's bullshit. I'm losing the fight, so why would I do that? So, that right there, that shows you what kind of guy Anthony Smith is, right? So he loses to John, and then this is where I get really impressed, and where I was like, okay, this guy can be a champion one day. He comes back and fights Alexander Gustafsson off of Gus's loss to John, if I'm not mistaken, and submits him in what round?
Fourth round.
Fourth round submission of another Fight Night main event. This dude, all he does is main event.
Fight he
nights.
looked great in.
He
the whole
looked
time.
so good the whole fight.
Because that was a fight I really thought Gus was going to win.
Well, I'm really high on Gus. Like, I thought he beat John in the first fight. I thought he was going to beat him in the second fight. Obviously, he got destroyed.
Had a very close fight with Cormier for the
Yeah,
belt.
like Gustafsson.
Always been like the second wheel, basically, the light heavyweight division.
Gustafsson is a stud. So for Smith to go out off of a loss to John and dominate Gus, I was like, okay, he'll string together a couple more and he's right back in the title picture.
Right.
That's where the loss to Glover comes in. Was that at the beginning of this year or earlier this year?
It was in May.
It was in May.
I think it was the very first.
It might have been the first fight night back.
First fight night after 249.
So,
it was because it was that week. They had a Wednesday and a Saturday. I think that was the Wednesday.
Yeah.
Saturday, I believe, was Overeem versus Walt Harris.
So again, he's not like on a losing streak, but that loss to Glover really like sucked to see happen. But again, Glover's like a former title
it just
challenger.
proved
like,
that Glover just
he's
doesn't
still got it.
Yeah.
And he has a big fight against your boy Thiago coming soon.
Which, God, if that happens to Thiago, because I know how you feel about Anthony Smith is how I feel about Thiago Santos. I think if that same thing happened to Thiago Santos, I'd be very sad.
Yeah. So like, this is a big fight for Anthony. Probably not as big as I'm making it out to be, but like to me, it just feels like this is a crucial fight.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going up against Alexander Rakic.
Right.
Who is this is the definition of like your young up and coming prospect.
Yeah.
If I've ever seen one.
He has not fought in a while.
Especially in this division, yeah. So he's coming off of a loss to Volkan Oezdemir. A split decision.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't remember it vaguely, I remember it vaguely, I should say. Could it have went to Rakic? Do you remember? It's not coming to me.
I don't remember it very well. I'm not even sure if I watched that live.
Mm-hmm.
I just know that it had the recipe, like, afterwards. I remember some of the chatter online being like, hype train derailed.
Yeah.
Which tells me that it was somewhat
I
didn't see a lot of like cries for robbery.
Right.
Even though it was a split decision.
But leading into that fight with Volkan, he was 4-0 in the UFC. So Rakic overall is 12-2. He's got 9 KO TKOs, 1 submission, so that's 10 out of 12 wins via finish. 4-1 in the UFC, so he lost to Volkan. Before that, he was 4-0. 2 of the 4 are notable, in my opinion. He beat Devin Clark via TKO.
I gotta mention that Jimmy Manawan knockout.
Oh, that was my second one.
Yeah.
Head kick to Manawa, sent him into retirement.
On the same card as Gus versus Smith.
Yeah. He retired Jimmy Manawa. That was brutal.
What?
If you guys haven't seen that head kick knockout, I highly recommend.
He got 50 G's from that knockout. Performance of the night bonus.
That was brutal.
Yeah.
Brutal head kick. So overall, they're both coming off a loss.
Right.
Both are against like legit contenders of the 205-pound division.
Mm-hmm.
This is a big fight in a division that we're so excited for right now. Now that John's gone, Anthony Rumble's coming back. We've got a title fight next month. Like, light heavyweight is on fire all of a sudden. So, like, literally the winner of this fight needs one more win, and then it's a title.
Potentially.
Depending on who the next winner
I feel
is.
like Glover and Thiago is probably the...
Well, I feel like...
Glover beat Anthony Smith.
No. I'm not saying, like, the winner of this gets a title shot.
Oh,
they get one more fight after this, then
sorry.
a title.
I misheard you there.
Yeah. It could potentially, really, the winner could fight the loser of Glover and Thiago, maybe? You know,
yeah.
I'm just matchmaking.
Dude, I'd love to see Anthony Smith versus Thiago.
At light heavyweight.
Dude,
that's what's
fun.
Yeah.
Just because I know we'd probably watch that together, have a lot of fun with that.
That would be fun. But yeah, this is a big fight for the division. Do you want to break? You can go into your breakdown first. I was about to predict.
No, I mean, you really nailed it all there. I mean, when it comes to prediction time, basically, I'm probably thinking, I don't know if you're going to like this. I think I'm going Rakic here.
I'm more concerned about how he wins.
I think it's going to be a second round TKO KO.
Second round TKO.
And here's how I see this fight going. I think it's going to be very similar to Glover Teixeira fight. I think Smith is going to look great early. Rakic might be a little hesitant.
Yeah.
But I think Rakic will land a big shot, and it's going
that really injures him.
And it's going to, and this time, Rakic is a guy with a lot of power. Glover, being a much older guy, kind of just had to really grind out the rest of that stoppage. I think Rakic finishes him in the second round. It might be a fight that Smith is like handedly winning for a round and a half, which I know is kind of somber because it's like, oh, he's back, he's looking great. Yeah. But I think Rakic Smith has been fighting for a long time.
Yeah, and he's still relatively young.
Yeah, so I don't think this fight will make him done. I just think it'll be a disappointing loss considering how I'm believing he'll look good early on. But the fact that he looked good early on means no reason he can't be back in there. That division's going to be up for grabs for a while.
Oh, yeah.
So, but I think Rakic gets the knockout win there.
So this is where to me, the 3-round main event comes into play.
Okay.
So, in the Glover fight, Anthony dominated the first 2 rounds. Dominated, looked amazing. He lost his energy. And that's where the tide started to turn for Glover. Right. And then the 4th round was just brutal. Now that he doesn't have to go 5 rounds, and I'm not saying he doesn't have a gas tank because he went 5 rounds with John, and he's whatever.
Well, he hurt Glover.
Yeah,
so he was trying to put him out.
He was putting everything into his shots. So honestly, it tells more to me about Glover still having a strong chin because he was going for the knockout, man. But now he doesn't have to worry about 5 rounds, and I think he learned from that fight to not throw 100% in every single punch. I'm going an Anthony Smith decision. And I'm actually going to go as far to say it's going to be a unanimous 29-28, back and forth, more of a technical striking battle. But I think Smith gets a decision win. As much as I want to see him get a knockout, and as much as I think Rakic can very well pull off a knockout, like you said,
right.
I think this is a decision win for Smith that gets him back on track.
Nice. No, I could totally see that. Honestly,
and this is a fight that I think could be fight of the night if it goes 3 rounds. Potentially.
Yeah.
But I see this being more technical than our predicted fight of the night of
right. Where it might be just a big slugfest.
Yeah, so that's what I'm thinking.
All right. And that's the breakdown there.
Let us know in the comments what you guys think.
Yeah.
Tune in. I'm telling you, these fight nights, man.
Yeah, tune in Saturday, ESPN Plus, and I'm pretty sure the whole card's
I think
on
it's
ESPN
9 p.m. The whole card's on ESPN Plus this weekend.
So shout out if you just pay $5 a month, man. I know right now times are tough. Not everybody's got the money, but man, if you can spare $5 and for a month you get 4 cards.
Well, these fight nights and like these Contender Series fights on Tuesdays, this is what can really get you going as a UFC fan. And like the fight nights is where you can really learn about people that aren't just big names, and that's what I love so much.
You see guys in their come up a lot of times.
Yeah.
Which has always been interesting for me because if we go back to when I first started watching, really, I look back when guys like Israel Adesanya and Kamaru Usman, guys who sort of just came up.
They made their names on fight nights.
Colby Covington, guys who kind of came out of nowhere in my eyes at the time, but I went back and I was like, oh, I've seen them fight before.
Yeah.
But it was like I didn't realize it because I didn't pay that close attention to those fight nights.
Anthony Smith is like the king of fight night main events.
But
all he does is main event.
I mean, even
fight
these
nights.
guys that are like lower on the main card, like for all we know, the winner of this Kudaleva-Ankalaev fight, they might be a title challenger down the line.
Yeah.
So it's going to be very interesting to kind of see, like, you watch this, we look back a couple of years from now and we go, oh, look at how we talked about this guy, and look at where he's at now.
Yeah.
So very interesting stuff. But tune in on Saturday.
UFC Vegas 8.
Mm-hmm.
That's the preview.
So with that, we're going to end it here, and we'll just talk a little bit more about the rest of the week. Or I guess
next week.
Next week.
Week 4.
Yeah, so week 4 coming up on us quick. And Monday will be the recap show of this very card we talked about today.
Yep.
So Monday morning, that'll be coming out. I usually post our videos at 5 in the morning.
Yeah, when you get up for work, you make them live.
Right before I leave for work, I post them or make them live. So, feel free to tune in at that time.
Yeah, tune in on your way to work.
On your way to work. That's what I do. I listen back on my way to work. Wednesday, though.
You know how we are with the special episodes. Again, Noah has a list made, and we went over it a lot this week.
Yeah.
This was kind of tough to decide on because
really
of how
was.
many ideas there are.
You
So hopefully you agree with me.
You want to know why else it was hard to decide?
Why is that?
Because we didn't decide before the podcast.
Yeah. That's also true.
So, I'm just going to be honest with everyone.
Let's be honest with them.
So we came and we were just like breaking down stuff. I was letting Dom talk to me about the notes he took. And we start recording and I'm like thinking, okay, like I got to talk about the next 2 episodes like I normally do. And I go, fuck.
We don't.
Wednesday's coming up. And I'm like, we didn't talk about
we went over ideas, but we didn't say which one we want to do.
So literally as he's talking, you might be able to tell if you go back and listen to like when we're talking about the main event. I, on our Google Doc, write in all caps, which one for Wednesday. And, like, he's just talking. I'm, like, tapping him, and he's just, like, kind of looking at me, like, smiling. I'm like, no, you fucking idiot. I'm like, look at the fucking Google Doc. So then when I start talking, he looks at it, and he points to the one we're going to do, and I'm very excited that you pointed at
Do you
this.
Do you agree? I hoped you liked the idea.
The first edition of what we're going to call Versus.
Ooh!
Versus.
Nice!
And we ain't talking about fighters in the cage. It's me versus Dom.
Wait. Huh?
Not in a fight. Yeah. But we are going to be competing in what is essentially...
This could be a fun series.
We're going to be doing a match building little competition. We're going to be building our very own pay-per-view card.
And it's not just going to be some, like...
It's not going to be 5 title fights.
Yeah, it's not going to be something unrealistic.
It's not going to be Conor headlining the prelims.
Yeah.
No, we'll have the rules ready to go on Wednesday.
Yeah.
But there's going to be a lot of rules in place. I've already kind of got a gist of it in my head.
I love this. The more and more we talk about it, this could very well be my favorite special episode yet.
Yeah, and this is something I want to keep doing as time goes on.
This could be a very fun, like, part 1, part 2, part 3.
So basically, and
we can do it once a month.
You, the viewers, can decide who wins this competition.
That's the only way.
Yeah.
They are the deciding factor.
They are the
deciding
factor.
YouTube comments or Instagram comments.
Yeah.
So
please let us know.
So basically, the gist of it is, like Noah said, we're going to build out a main card for pay-per-view.
So
Not a fight night, but a pay-per-view.
5 fights.
It has to be realistic. It can't be stupid. And we'll go over the rules later, but just a quick gist. That's what it's going to be. After you guys listen to the episode and you hear both of our fight cards, you will then either leave a comment on the YouTube podcast letting us know which card you would purchase if you were a fan. Let us know in the YouTube comments or on our Instagram which card you would purchase, and we will tally up, what do you think, after 2 days? Yeah. Like, we'll release the results on maybe Friday's episode of who won.
Sure.
So that's kind of how it'll go, and you can feel free to touch on anything.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to go too in-depth with the rules right now because that isn't this episode.
Yeah.
But we'll make sure I'm going to have the rules completely hashed out with Dom by then because I think I have a pretty good idea of what it'll be by then. But, yeah, just tune in. Really let us know what you think of the cards we're building. I'm really excited about this.
This is like where we can really be interactive with you guys.
I agree.
And, we've had great engagement with you guys so far, and this is only going to, take us to that next level with, like, our Below Average Joe's community,
Yeah, for sure.
So,
but, until then, tell the great people where they can find you on social media.
You can find me personally on Twitter and Instagram at DSalee14. As always, you can find our Below Average Joe's official UFC podcast Instagram at Below Average Joe's _podcast. I usually end there, but I did want to say one more note.
Mm-hmm.
Our channel art on YouTube, there's actually a direct link that will take you to our Instagram. So feel free to click that, and it will take you straight to our page. You You can check out our content there, give us a follow, and see all of our stuff there.
Yeah, I got to give a shout out to Dom on that one because Dom's been really killing it with the Instagram. That's really been all him, and big shout out to him for really posting the news, telling people to watch on Tuesday, like really staying engaged on there. So great job on that.
Well, thank you, Noah.
And for me, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at ntbaker_. And with that, we're out, and we'll see y'all on Monday.